Hello, this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. First, we have new RI law will make rape theft a felony from Whittling Dan, and that's from WPRL.com, or WPRI.com, sorry. And yeah, I personally would disagree with that. I would say, if a company wants to say something is, companies should be able to. I don't think the government should be interfering with private business like that. But I guess they have. That's the thing. The government can justify whatever it wants. If it wants to interfere with private business like that, it has the ability to justify it. So that's why I think I don't know. I don't think we should be justifying letting the government do stuff like that without without the public's consent. If the businesses want to consent to it, I think it's fine. But right now, the businesses aren't consenting to it; they're being forced to do so by the state, and I don't think that is the correct answer. Then we have the moral of COVID, and the moral of the great democides and genocides is that they are caused by communities who believe they're doing good, and who cannot fathom that their being good intention does not entail that they are in fact doing good. From Mark Changasy on Twitter, I posted that. I found it on I found it on Tom Woods' Twitter. He retweeted it, and I thought that was a good tweet. I said in the comments, agreed. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and on social media, everyone just circle jerks how they're always correct with like-minded followers. It's a recipe for disaster in the long run. I definitely think, social media, you really saw it with COVID, how people really just circle jerked how they were so right, and you couldn't question it at all without people coming after you for it. I think, it was important to remember that a lot of people didn't like all the mandates, and some lost everything they had because of them. It was a hard situation. I think we should have let more people do what they want, and if you were too afraid to get COVID, you were always free to walk around public with a hazmat suit and not leave your house if you wanted to. So, that's my thoughts there. The thing with COVID is, people, I think if you're spreading a virus intentionally, it could be considered, it's a NAP violation, but I think if you're spreading it unintentionally, I don't think it is. I think the media definitely did kind of overhype COVID, and we increasingly saw the result of that and how it kind of led to a lot of frustration. I think, the George Floyd riots were a lot of from COVID stress, I would say. That's why, the media, it was selling you a narrative more than anything. It was just trying to push this COVID's the worst thing ever, So, sometimes it's just best to turn off the TV and collect yourself and think for yourself instead of letting the media think for you. That's my thoughts there. Then we have The Sad Irony of Affirmative Action by Ruin My Circle Jerk, and this is from nationalaffairs.com. And I would agree, I would talk a lot about affirmative action because that was one of the big decisions the court made this over the past couple of days. And I think if you want, I think the thing with affirmative action is it's inherently racist. Some people might say, oh, it's good racism because it helps benefit those who have been historically oppressed by racism. But the thing is that it is racist. You can't outweigh bad racism with good racism, just like you can't outweigh bad authoritarianism with good authoritarianism. That's what I would say there. Then we have California added again by Kiki username from the MarijuanaHerald.com, and that is California Senate passes bill to legalize marijuana cafes, allow live performances at marijuana stores. I think, that marijuana is just so regulated in California. I think this is a good decision, but I don't think it should be the government's decision to make. I think if you wanted to have a live performance at a marijuana store, and you want to do that, I don't think it should be the government's decision to make that decision. I think it should be your decision, not the government's decision. And I think that's kind of what you see. The government thinks it has the ability to make all the decisions for you. It doesn't think you have any individual agency. It thinks it has all the agency. That's why I think we gotta say, government, It's not your decision, it's mine. And if I want to do something that you say no to, I should be able to, as long as the NAP isn't being violated. Then we have diversity didn't destroy the Ocean Gate sub. Libertarianism did. A YouTube video from Rebecca Watson and Beige Forever posted that. I said, it was their decision. They had the right to make it. Also, I can't forgive Watson for Elevator Gate. When she accused a guy of sexual harassment just for asking her if he wanted to come up to his room for coffee. It was pretty much the start of the whole woke SJW movement. And, that the thing is, that's why I don't forgive Watson. I like what Zealous Deal, Teacher 41 posted here. For such a statistically insignificant IIHS group, boy howdy, do you sure get blamed for all the world's ills. That's the thing is, they always find a way to blame libertarianism and just leave people alone because it's obviously because they just want to justify authoritarianism and pushing their beliefs and standards on everyone else. So that's my thoughts there. That's why the libertarians, they're just kind of just going to be thrown under the bus because they want to leave people alone, and we live in a society that doesn't want to be left alone. It wants to enforce all its beliefs on other people. And that's something, we see currently. The Fake Crisis at the Supreme Court is from Politico.com by Rumai Circle's, and that is about, what's that about? Opinion the left campaign destroys the Supreme Court. I personally would agree with the left here more than I would agree with the right, I would say. The left are saying, the Supreme Court's illegitimate because we don't agree with false decisions because it's overly biased in favor of the right. But, I would say I would agree with that. But, I would say that it doesn't matter who was on the Supreme Court or how much the size is or what the judges or who the judges are. The court is illegitimate, but not because of any of those reasons. It's because man doesn't make the rules. Man doesn't make nature makes the rules. Man just thinks they make the rules. So my thought there is, if you're not violating NAP and the Supreme Court says otherwise, the Supreme Court says this is legal, but it's not a NAP violation, I think you have a duty to go against it. So that's my thoughts there. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says. I would agree it's illegitimate, just like the rest of the U.S. government, and I think we need to remember that as time moves on, because it's nice to remember that the government doesn't tell you what you can and can't do. You tell yourself. You shouldn't have to ask for permission from anybody. You give yourself that permission. Then we have FFRF demands Colorado school district ban the Bible after Christian nationalist group got the district to ban books for sex and violence. Religious zealots can't scour books looking for sexual references or content to offend them. Then say the obscenity in the Bible may be judged differently. From LGBTQNation.com, from Slayer991. And I would agree with that. I think if people don't want the Bible in schools, they shouldn't be forced with the Bible in schools. I think that's why I really don't care too much for the Florida law. They say, it's banning books. Just take them out of schools. And I think that is something. Maybe we shouldn't put books in schools if the parents don't want them there. I think that's important to remember as well. Affirmative action ban helps white agencies and hurt suffers from ghost archive link from the Washington Post. And I said, and that's from Baton 13, and I said, WAPO pretty much says racism is good when it fits into the social justice agenda. That's important to remember, social... Then we have Supreme Court restricts use of race in college admissions from Washington Post, another Washington Post article. And I said, I don't know if I commented on this one. I think I did, yeah. I said, universities will probably find a way to get around it, It's because it says Robert Centellini kept his own opinion by used to making certain applicant decisions, especially how race affected his life, as long as they are treating basis based on his or her experiences of individual, not basis of race. So that's why I think they'll just find a way against it to get around it, and you'll still see it kind of continue even if it's not officially legal. And I also do think affirmative action is racist, but I do think if people want to discriminate based on race, I think they should be able to do so. So that's my thoughts there. Remember, citizen, you are the closed-minded bigot, not the we cannot tolerate a single dissident voice anywhere left. From Tom Woods on Twitter, and I posted that. And that's Tom Woods. That was a link to a tweet from John Saylor. Dozens of Slake students signed the letter demanding UCLA not hire Dr. Yoel Embar. After that, he didn't get the job offer he was certainly going to receive. His main offense, expressing skepticism about DEI statements. In his words, it is not clear what good they do. That's the thing, They'll come after you if they detect any slight dissent. It's kind of the right too, but it's really bad on the left currently. If they find any dissent, they'll come after you, and so there's nothing you can really do about it. You just have to kind of sit and take it. So that's the thing is. They want to bully you into thinking exactly the same, or else they'll just come after you, and that's just life sometimes. So, you gotta stand your ground, say, I'm thinking for myself, I'm not gonna let you bully me into thinking otherwise, and sometimes you have to leave it at that. The Case for Liberalism, an interview with Joshua Reed Equal from OpenSubstack.com. That's from the Justin Case on Substack. And, I don't really care for Mr. Equal, but, I guess, if he wants to... I think liberalism's a lost cause at this point. The leftists have taken it over now. It's essentially not even liberal, it's leftism, Look how they treat people who call themselves classical liberals. They think they're fascists as well. And the thing is, the liberalism is now pretty much dead in the water. They're even the left saying, oh, it's liberalism's far-right ideology these days. So I think, in the long run, I don't think we can win with liberalism, because liberalism is like, we should let everyone, kind of like libertarianism, we should let everyone do what they want, but a little, I don't know, maybe a little more economically authoritarian, I would say. But the thing is that I think it's not going to work in the long run, because it's more of a live and let live ideology, and that's not what you see the right or the left really want these days. They want all the cultural standards bullied onto everyone else. Supreme Court and affirmative action. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. That's from Ruin My Circle Jerk. And is that a post from Reason.com? Yeah, so, I would agree. I would agree there. It's, yeah. And I said, I posted, as a libertarian, I think people should be able to make up their own rules as long as they aren't hurting anybody else. And I posted that, and I said, but you shouldn't force other people to play by these rules if they don't want to. If you think that's being violated, I think you shouldn't, maybe some people think it might be a NAP violation, but even if that isn't, you shouldn't force people to play other rules, it's like when it comes to stuff like misgendering and just any sorts of interaction. You don't want to get socially interactive with people, you shouldn't be forced to do so. And that's my thoughts there. I don't want people to bully their cultural standards into anybody else, but that seems like what everyone wants to do these days. Then we have a tweet from Michael Malice I shared. The Supreme Court has just struck down affirmative action and invalidated Kamala Harris as vice president. Now the GQP only has to impeach Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy become president. This is what a coup looks like. This is what the end of democracy looks like. And I said, I like Malice because he shows that trolling does have a place in modern political discourse, and that makes it a bit more fun. And I said, this tweet is like legitimately what Reddit sounds like to me. At least it's a party tweet. You should see what Erica Marsh, an actual person who worked on Biden's campaign, tweeted, and that was interesting. She might be a party account too, Erica Marsh, but it's like, she said, today's Supreme Court system is a direct attack on black people. No black person will be able to succeed in the merit-based system, which is exactly why affirmative action-based programs were needed. The state's decision is a travesty. That's the thing is even if it might be a parody account as well, the thing is that Um, uh, the thing with that is that that's kind of what they say. They think the system itself isn't currently racist. That's why they say like, oh, linear thinking is a white supremacy value. They think the system is all white supremacy, and that's why they want to overthrow it. That's why they're pushing stuff like the 1619 Project, I would say. Former Ohio House Speaker householder sentenced to 20 years in prison for state's largest bribery scheme from News5Cleveland.com by Donald Key. Of course, that's their. Of course, I would say that they should more than be sent to prison. They're all corrupt. That's my fault there. Then we have archives of RARBG to magnet links have admit DMCA claim levied against them from GitHub.com by Frosty Slowman. And it's apparently, a private actor has claimed ownership over random numbers. That's the thing, it's just going to say people can declare themselves owners of anything, but what they really need is the force to back it up. And that's important to remember. If you want to declare yourself owners of anything, you should be able to, but you need the force to back it up. And usually people do that through the law. They use the force of the law to back it up, but sometimes they don't have the law. They'll have to take the law into their own hands. U.S. charges Virginia sheriff with handing out badges for bribes from Reuters.com by Ninja Lover. I think, I would definitely agree that they should be charged for that, yeah. We never stop applying pressure. Hard success on rail sick days. From IBU.org by Ninja Lover. I agree with that. The workers should be able to fight for their rights, and I think they should be able to threaten the use of their to threaten the use of taking away their labor if they don't feel like they're being catered to. But I think companies should be able to hire scabbers in that instance as well. So that's my fault there. I think I'm not as pro labor as a lot of people, but I think people should be able to use their labor as a bargain chip, however they see fit. Justice Thomas's individualist concurrence from Ruin My Circle Jerk, and that is about from Cato.org. I was personally not the biggest fan of Justice Clarence Thomas, but I do think he's probably he can be good sometimes. I would say, yeah. But I don't really care for the whole court. As I said, it's all illegitimate to me. Then we have the mysterious case of the fake gay marriage website, The Real Straight Man, and the Supreme Court from NewRepublic.com by Ninja Lover. Apparently, the woman suing the Colorado wedding thing of if you didn't want to cater for gay people, I don't think she should be forced to do so. I don't think anyone should be forced to force anyone to do anything they don't want to, as long as the NAP is being violated. So I think if you want to serve someone, because of their sexuality, I think you should be able to do so. Just like I think you shouldn't be forced to do someone based on their race or anything. But I think that regardless, I think even if the case was filed because of on behalf of a supposedly fake website, I still think they should be able to rule on that. But as I said, I don't believe in the legitimacy of the Supreme Court or any of the U.S. government, so I think it doesn't matter what the decision of the court is. I think people should be standing up for their rights to discriminate based on how they see fit, even if it might be make them seem like a bigot, because I think people should be allowed to be bigoted as long as they're not hurting anyone else. If business is acting bigoted, and way I consider that, I wouldn't patronize them. That's what I would do. I just wouldn't patronize them. But apparently people want to use the law these days to push their beliefs on these businesses, and that's something I personally am against. Supreme Court rules that Biden overstepped his authority with his mass forgiveness of student loans. From my circles work, and that's linked to Washington Post. And I would agree there. I think Biden did overstep his authority. I think most of the government constantly oversteps his authority. I don't think it has any authority, personally. So that's my thoughts there. Texas Heat puts spotlight on Abbott's cruel Death Star bill. From SNBC.com by Ninja Lover. I don't know what the Death Star bill, they always come up with the craziest names to make them play better in the media. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that the Death Star bill is good. It personally has a name that's supposed to sound bad, I would say, so the media can play play it like that, like the "Don't Say Gay" bill. But yeah, I definitely think it shouldn't be regulating stuff like mandatory breaks for construction workers and stuff like that. If a company wants to give their employees a break, I think it should be able to, but I don't think it should be forced to do so. Italy to bar soccer players from wearing number 88, which is coded meaning for neo-Nazis, fascist capitalists taking never L, from JerusalemPost.com by Chi-Town20. And I think people should be able to wear whatever number they want personally, but I guess if those in positions of power and force have the ability to say no, I guess that's just how it is sometimes. Chief Justice attacks the idea that the court goes beyond the judiciary's proper role, the most corrupt court in the history of the court, from Chi-Town20. And I think, yeah, I think the court always kind of goes beyond the judiciary's proper role. I don't think the judiciary their role should just be to, I don't know, just kind of keep the law, but whatever the law is inherently subject to their thing. So, it's like, who watches the Watchmen, the Supreme Court should only be legitimate to people think it's legitimate. If they don't, then it doesn't have any legitimacy. Just like the rest of the U.S. government. Then we have "Oh no, there's fighting links to fascists" from Vice.com. That's a story by Tom13. They're the one who posted it. It's two of the worst far-right groups are now fighting each other. And the Proud Boys and the neo-Nazi activists for explode real response. I think they just all might be feds. I think most political violence is fed. So that's my thoughts there. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.